It seems to me like Germany and the United Kingdom are in a never-ending race to see who can better embody the values of Clown World, as well as who can be more dystopian. And I think this is a very good example of this. So the headline is a right-wing candidate in Germany was banned for speaking about the well-known author Tolkien. It's a bit of an oversimplification, but it's not inaccurate. Regional deputy of the right-wing party Alternative for Germany, Joachim Paul, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, was banned from the mayoral election in his city for speaking about literature. So I'm just going to read through this, and I'm going to just add some stuff as we go. I have looked this up. We will read what the actual report said. I have a machine translation, but it gives you the idea. In Germany, it's no longer necessary to commit a crime to be eliminated from politics. It's enough to read the wrong books, quote the wrong authors, or attend the wrong conferences. Joachim Paul, regional deputy of Rhineland-Pfalz, professor, writer, and candidate of the party for the mayoralty, was supposed to compete in September 2025, but instead was banned. He was the favorite to win. From my understanding, the AfD was going to win by quite a large margin, although I've had trouble finding exact polls on that, but especially given how low turnout was, it really seems to indicate that to me. So it wasn't a judge, though, that removed him. It wasn't the voters, but rather it was the Municipal Election Committee, chaired by the acting mayor herself, following a report from the German Domestic Intelligence Services, officially tasked with protecting the Constitution, but in practice turned into a political police force that neutralizes patriotic opponents before they reach the polls. So from my understanding, you have like the Stasi Reborn, and the Stasi Reborn investigate people who say things that the German political elite don't like, and then they come up with these reports that they issue to try to slander the person. And in Germany, apparently all the parties are allowed to vote to disqualify someone from running, which really seems like a flawed system, because wouldn't it make sense for the parties to generally try to vote whoever is looking to win out and disqualify them so they can get more of a chance to win? But so it says, but in practice, the German Domestic Intelligence Services has turned into a political police force that neutralizes patriotic opponents before they reach the polls. They have stuff like this in Canada too. You know, it's funny how liberalism and diversity always requires like a totalitarian police state to maintain it. It really makes you wonder. The procedure was as swift as it was cynical. On July 18th, Steinruck sent the Regional Interior Ministry indications that Paul lacked the constitutional loyalty required to run. What kind of a dystopian language is that? You're not loyal enough to Kim Jong-un or the dear leader or whatever. On July 29th, the ministry, led by a member of the SPD, sent her an 11-page dossier from the German Domestic Intelligence Service with evidence taken from public sources. On August 5th, the Electoral Committee, under the same chair, executed the exclusion of the inconvenient rival. I mean, so that's convenient. You have people sitting on multiple boards. You have people who are allowed to vote on legal matters that they're directly involved with. It's an interesting system. So this is an Argentine paper, but I have looked up this stuff. For an Argentine reader, the method is familiar. A strong candidate eliminated by administrative act before facing the polls, as is the political prescription the region knows well. The difference is we're not talking about a fragile country that's had a whole bunch of coups and military dictatorships, but about Germany, sold for decades as an implacable model of the rule of law. The file doesn't mention corruption, violence, or fraud. It accuses ideas and symbols, including writing articles in the conservative media about Tolkien. A famous German book, which Nibelungen Lied, I can't pronounce it, an online course on that medieval work, a quote from Charles Martel, He was the one who stopped the advance of the Muslims at Tours. The use of the term remigration, supporting National Pride Month, and going for conferences at national student associations. So, was anything he did violent or corrupt or criminal? Not really, but he went to the wrong things. It even considers it that he organized a book market where an antiquarian offered editions of Ernst Junger or in this lodge. Okay, so Ernst Junger or Hofenmasthal. Sorry, I'm bad at pronouncing German. I just looked that up. It's an Austrian author. In this logic, selling a copy of the German Reader for 64 euros is already considered a threat to the Republic. I mean, it's true. You know, it's funny because when I was in Germany, outside of it wasn't the Reichstag. It was one of the major government buildings there. Someone was selling a bunch of old books, as well as memorabilia from the DDR, like medals and stuff like that. So maybe that guy's going to a gulag next. The work in question is a 13th century German epic. So it's 13th century. It's not even from the Nazi era or the nationalist era at all. That tells the story of Siegfried, a hero who kills a dragon, conquers a treasure, and dies betrayed. It's a song of loyalty, honor, and tragedy with no happy endings. All the protagonists fail. So a major part of German literature, equivalent in symbolic weight to the story of El Cid. I think that is what that is. In the incrimination article, Paul criticized the regional government for not taking advantage of a movie adaptation as an opportunity to project the region, project the image of the region. He said the story is described as one of great men and women who do what must be done because they remain true to their values and with that to themselves. They quoted that description is not literature, it's dangerous nationalism. So, from my understanding, there was I don't know if it's a literary epic or kind of one of the big great books in the German canon. They made a movie adaptation of it. He said he liked the movie adaptation. He said, look, it was filmed in Rhineland-Palatinate. Let's use it as an opportunity to promote it. I like the themes. It's about conviction. It's about staying true to yourself. And that was considered far-right nationalism. So the accusations border on the absurd when it's added that in 2022, Paul commented on the Amazon series Rings of Power. He apparently is the one guy who liked Rings of Power. I mean, if they were investigating him for watching Rings of Power, that might make some sense. Drawing parallels between nationalism and the conservative revolution of the new right. Okay, so let's take a look at what he actually wrote. So this is a machine translation of the Stasi's report on his Lord of the Rings. He published over 20 articles in the Austrian magazine Tag Stymie between 2021 and 2025. In September 2022, he published an article on the Amazon series The Rings of Power, in which he drew parallels to nationalism and the conservative revolution pursued by the New Right. Indeed, he said, Tolkien's entire work reflects a conservative mindset, which precisely because it has such a broad reach is of particular value to contemporary conservatism. I mean, once again, that's just true. Well, it would be kind of crass to attribute Tolkien to any kind of specific political movement. I always view him as kind of like the British equivalent of a paleocon. There's no real argument that Tolkien wasn't deeply conservative, although not necessarily in the American tradition. And here he's just stating, well, it's one of the conservative works by a conservative author or religious author that has such a wide appeal, and he said it's good as something to use. I mean, that seems pretty straightforward to me. He says the protagonists in Lord of the Rings fight for a cause greater than themselves: their homeland, the continuation of their culture, a just order, the defense against a global threat. They are prepared to risk their lives for this. Even if they freely choose this path, they feel a deep obligation to their people, their culture, and their forefathers. And that's what he said. That was put in the Stasi's report, that this dude is too dangerous to be allowed to run for office, because he had a largely, in my opinion, correct and reasonable reading of Lord of the Rings. So let's think about this for a minute. So are they saying that, like, Sauron was in the right? That because the Lord of the Rings book, he's saying that it's good that Frodo and company were fighting against Sauron? That is the incorrect opinion? And Sauron is like globalism or something? And if the book should support Sauron, is this like they're endorsing The Last Ring Bearer, replacing Lord of the Rings as like the main Tolkien book? So that it is part of it. And once again, this is from the actual report. You can look it up. The political reading of Tolkien has a long tradition. So is this like Mordor influence in elections, or is this Gondor influence in elections, or is this separation of Eru and state? I don't know. Seen this way, the institution starts to resemble the Eye of Sauron more than a guardian of the Constitution. Yeah, the Neo-Stasis like that. Let's see. The report also labels as unconstitutional Paul's description of the degradation of the Hemshog neighborhood, attributing it to the high percentage of immigrants and dependence on state aid. In this logic, even saying the obvious becomes extremism. If you make a factually accurate demographic statement, that is cause for not being allowed to run for office in Germany. Since the federal government under Interior Minister Nancy Faeser promoted classification of AfD as a confirmed extremist, the Stasi has perfected a hermeneutics of suspicion. It doesn't sanction acts but atmospheres. It doesn't combat arguments but mental associations. I remember in 1984 they say Oceania is a nation of crimes but no laws. Ludwigshafen, the scene in which the scene of the band is a post-industrial city with high rates of crime and ethnic tensions. The AfD obtained more than 20% in the last national elections there. Keep in mind, Germany is not a two-party system. It's like a 4 or 5-party system. So that's actually quite a bit. Especially when we look at how much the party that won by. It is a place where the former is the birthplace of Helmut Kohl, who I believe was mayor and governor of the region. So let's scroll down. In the United States, a politician can run even with 91 criminal charges. In Israel, a prime minister can remain in office during a war despite being under major corruption charges. Within Germany, interpreting a medieval epic may be enough to be declared incompatible with democracy. It's not a system failure, it's its function. A system that doesn't defeat its adversaries, classifies them, that doesn't censor opinions, labels them, that doesn't fear ideas, fears the meaning they may have. So the actual vote, here we go. So turnout in the city was down to 29%, which is terrible. And this is compared to last municipal election, which was 60%. So it's fallen by more than half since the previous election. And in addition to this, about 10% of the ballots cast were spoiled votes. I don't know if that meant that they wrote his name in it or something like that. But yeah, my understanding, like I said, was he was the favorite to win. The fact that the percentage of the voter turnout fell by more than half, and that another 10% of that was not voting says something. Okay, so let's do some napkin math. Let's do some bad napkin math. Okay, so we have 29 and of that, another 10% didn't vote. So that would be, another 10% or so spoiled their ballot. So that would be -3. We'll say about -3. And then of that, the person who won got 41% of the vote times 0.41. So the leading candidate had the support of about 11% of the population of the city. Is what's going to happen, and if he gets elected, he'll probably get elected with a similar percentage. So he might have maximum of like 12 to 14% of the population supporting him. So that's democracy in action. Sub quarter turnout rates. 29% turnout rates is democracy in action. So yeah, he got kicked off. Apparently, all the parties there were allowed to participate in the vote. So the committee members voted 6-1 that he should not be allowed to run. So partisan opponents of this guy were allowed to vote on whether or not he was allowed to run. Can you imagine if that was like that in the U.S.? Like the Republicans or Democrats could just disqualify the other candidate in every election. Like if it was in Wyoming or something, they could just disqualify all the Democrats from running. The same thing could happen in California. I don't know. That seems like an insane system. But that's just the way that it is. So, yeah. Way to go, Germany, protecting democracy by banning candidates and leading to extremely low voter turnout. Now, there's a cope here I just wanted to look at. It says the guy who sort of won said the low turnout was due to the fact that the mayoral election did not coincide with any state or federal election this time. That was the reason. There's also the thing with the guy getting banned. So, anyways, I hope you found that interesting. I wasn't sure if people had heard about that story or not. I was asking around and no one seems to have heard of it. So I figured I'd cover it because Germany is speed running clown world. So anyways, guys, God bless, and I'll talk to you again real soon.